So welcome everybody to our presentation today. We have an amazing international audience, so please feel free to put in chat where you're from and let us all know that you're here. We'd love to see all the different countries around the world that are here today. So put that in, and we are just starting in 1 minute. Okay, so welcome today. We have a very exciting webinar for you. I'm the founder and managing director of Think Global Recruitment, and for 27 years have been moving accountants across the globe. And that's what today is all about. Our purpose is improving lives. And today we're going to hear stories from some people that we have assisted to move across the globe, whose lives we have improved. We've actually assisted over 2,000 professionals move to 63 different countries, and that was about 43 different nationalities. So it's very exciting. You'll see a lovely mix of people today, and hopefully you're going to find this as exciting as we will. Today we are going to hear first of all from Nick. Nick is then going to do some Q&A specific to him, and then we're going to move on, and we've got Cindy, Makiba, Bagani, and then when we get to the Q&A section, joining them, we've got Shanice as well. So a fantastic group of people and speakers, very exciting. So let me move on and introduce you now to Maxine. The lovely Maxine is going to be our compare today. Over to you, Maxine.
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Maxine. I work remotely from Cape Town. I have over 8 years of recruitment experience, and I currently specialize in audit and also cybersecurity and risk. And I actually have had the pleasure of assisting a couple of our guest speakers here today make their amazing international moves. So enough about me. I am delighted to introduce you to Nick. Nick has made an exciting move from the UK all the way to beautiful Bermuda. Over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Maxine. Good to see you all. I think there's a little slide with my picture and stuff on it. If we go to the next one, yeah, excellent. Luckily, the plane didn't quite take such a turbulent journey to get to Bermuda. It was a straight flight. I can attest to that. But yes, I'm Nick. I work at KPMG Bermuda. I'm a senior manager in the governance, risk, and compliance services team. These are some of the pictures I've taken on Bermuda. It really does look like that. I promise you, there's not been any photoshops or anything like that involved. The top right is the view from the first apartment we stayed in when we moved, and then the bottom right is my back garden currently. So we're very lucky to be on the water. Actually, that's one of the biggest changes that's happened since I moved over, is just kind of the ability to go and kind of swim whenever I want to. So for example, before coming to the office today, I had a little dip in the ocean, so that was quite nice. It's still warm enough to do that, and I didn't think I'd be saying this ever in October. So kind of overall, the reason for the move to Bermuda was this, to kind of get a bit of sun, but also I had a lucky opportunity to do a project out here for a couple of weeks, and I really enjoyed the pace of life, and I just really liked the people. Everyone was really friendly, and I just thought, yeah, a move from London to an environment like this will do me well. The move itself was quite good in terms of the visa process. It kind of teaches you a little bit about patience and filling in government forms, but I'm sure everyone's had to do that at one point or another. Finding accommodation was also quite tricky, but we ended up with somewhere really beautiful, so I'm really happy about that. And yeah, nothing but positive experiences so far. Prior to this, I worked in a professional services firm that was a mid-tier professional services firm, and so yeah, I'm kind of used to the workload. It's not, it's not. I'm not going to lie and say it's a doddle, but it's the hours are just kind of standard 40 to kind of 50 hours a week that you would do in a normal professional services firm. But at the weekend, you get to enjoy life in a really sunny place. We're actually currently hiring in my team, so we've got 3 spots open. So there's one for a senior, one for a manager, and one for an ESG person, varying varying levels of seniority. So we'll if anyone's got that profile, more than happy to connect after this. You can find me on LinkedIn. My surname is phonetic, but just take a note of that, and you should be able to find me. But with that, kind of happy to open to any questions. Sorry to mess up the schedule a little bit, but I've got to dash off. I've got a conference to get to this morning.
Awesome. I would also just like to add that, yes, anybody interested, please do let us know. We know exactly what Nick and his team is looking for. We're
Yeah.
happy to talk you through what it's like at KPMG, and then how you can easily apply. Sorry, Nick, over to you again.
No, yeah, that was kind of the end of my couple of
Yeah,
minutes. I
your
was conscious I
Q&A.
didn't want to take too much time. Yeah. So if anyone's got any questions about my move, about Bermuda, about anything, the team here, more than happy to answer.
Let's check here. Somebody actually said or asked, heard that in Bermuda, even after 5 years, you still won't be eligible to a permanent residence. Please confirm.
So there is a time period after which you are allowed to remain here and not be tied to a work permit. I can't quite remember what that time period is, but it's definitely more than 5. I think I've got a feeling it's about 10 years that you need to have worked here to not be
Yeah.
tied to a work permit. But I can't imagine how you could survive here and not work. So just yeah, unless so you are able to move with a partner. So for example, my partner doesn't work, and we made the move together. And so, just to give you a perspective, a senior manager salary is sufficient to sustain both of us. So that's quite good.
Brilliant.
Oh,
Another
sorry.
question. Sorry.
In terms of visa, there's also like a digital nomad visa that you can get here, and that kind of keeps you here for a year or 2 maybe. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, you answered another question here. They asked how long, okay, well, not visa, but how long is the work permit
So yeah, the
generally?
work permit, the work permit, you get generally a 2-year permit as your first one, and then I think the next one they go up to 5 years, but I think you'd find that so it's attached to your work, it's
Yeah,
attached to your job. So if you're staying, or maybe maybe it is okay to stay in one position for 5 years, but I'd want to get promoted in that time. So I
of
think
course.
the work
Of
permit would
course.
need to change.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think a 2-year stint is perfectly reasonable timeline.
Yeah, and the general one that we've also been seeing is generally around that 2-year mark. Brilliant. Okay, and how diverse is the island?
Very. So the population is about 60,000 people
Mhm.
on the island. So about 20 of those are immigrants or expats. So I'm actually a double immigrant because I immigrated to the UK when I was little, and now I've immigrated to Bermuda. Um, so yeah, the in my team, for example, it's a team of 4, and every single one of us is from a different spot in the world. So we've
Wow,
got we've got a Canadian, a Bermudian, a lady from the Caribbean, from Trinidad, and myself from the UK.
that's really exciting. And how does the cost of living compare to London?
Yeah. So Bermuda's a low tax environment, which means basically almost everything that you earn in a salary will get plonked into your account divided by 12. But that does mean the cost of living is higher. What I would say is, you know, it's really tricky to kind of compare. So, you know, my girlfriend and I play this game, you know, so we'll go to the shop and then we'll compare different things. So yesterday, for example, I bought an aubergine and a plastic bottle to like go like a gym shaker. And you know, which one is more expensive? Um, in the UK, it would be a no-brainer, of course, the plastic bottle, but here it's actually the aubergine.
Well,
Um, so it's, yeah, different things cost different amounts of money, but it like I said, it's in the UK, a senior manager salary probably wouldn't have been allowed us to live like we do now. So
wow.
yeah, on balance, I think it's worked out better in terms of the quality of life.
Right. Okay. You're still a couple, just a couple for you. Are
Oh,
the roles open to candidates or applicants throughout or from Africa as well?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we don't have any country restrictions. The visa process is what it is. So, you know, as long as you can persevere with that, then yes, absolutely. We've got a number of people from across the African continent in the on the floor, actually, not in my team, but so yeah, we've got a couple of guys from Ghana, Nigeria. There's a lady from Kenya. So yeah.
Awesome. And also,
Oh,
I
and
know,
there's a bunch of South Africans as well. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I want to a lot of South Africans, and I know of a special guy also from Mauritius that's also in on the floor there. Great. Okay. And then, is there anything you found very different culturally?
everything. So it was a little bit of a shock from London, where you kind of you would never speak to a stranger. Here, you know, that kind of, it's really friendly. So, you know, to the point where if you go to the shop and you ask someone in the shop, how much does this thing cost? And they'll look at you and they'll say, good afternoon, how are you? And then you just then need to remember to take that step back and say, actually, yes, no, let's have the human interaction first, and then we
Yeah.
can talk about how much this thing costs. So yeah, that's and actually that was part of the draw why I wanted to come here. Like I remember having this kind of moment in a car. We were taking a cab from one side of the island to the other to catch a ferry, and I was rushing because I thought it was going to be late. But the cab driver was going to the speed limit, and well, one below the speed limit, and the speed limit on the island is 20 miles an hour, and he was going 19, and I could see this, and I was just kind of like, man, come on, can you just go like 1 extra mile an hour faster,
Really?
please? It will help me to get to the ferry. I don't want the ferry to leave because we'll, you know. And he just kind of looked at me, and he went, relax, man, life is good. And I just thought at that moment, my head was about to explode. But I thought, actually, I do want life to be that good that I'm not worried about these kind of little things. So yeah,
Yeah, and live life
uh,
and fast forward all the time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
Righty. So, what, in your opinion, what are the salary ranges for like a senior manager or even manager level?
Um, um, yeah, I'm not too sure about the salary ranges.
Don't worry about it. We'll
Yeah,
help. We've got all that info. Don't worry.
yeah, great. Yeah, I
And
don't I
it,
don't think, and like this phone number that you hear won't matter because, you know, wherever you are in the world, you'll compare the dollar value, you'll take it after tax, and you think, oh wow, that's a big chunk. But then the cost of living here kind of is comparative. I think the best thing to say is moving as a senior manager from London to Bermuda, I feel a little bit better off. So that's for me.
yeah,
And
and
obviously, yeah,
I mean, it is also such a competitive environment. The firms have a reputation also to maintain. They will never offer anything less than market related. You need to be able to survive where you're going or
yeah,
thrive.
absolutely. Thrive, yeah.
Great.
Thrive is better than surviving, indeed.
You've mentioned quite a number of amazing things about Bermuda, but what to you is the best thing that you've enjoyed the most so far in Bermuda?
I just, yeah, every now and then I just have to kind of pinch myself with how beautiful it is. So, you know, if you literally look in the picture on the bottom right, that is my view outside my back door. And every now and then you'll just forget that that's what it is. And so yeah, just reminding myself that it's really beautiful, and I'm really lucky to be here. I think is the best thing.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, that looks like all of your questions, Nick. We thank you
Great.
so much for your time. We hope that you can just stay on a little bit longer, but if you can't, it's been lovely having you join us today.
Yes, I'll conserve for 5 minutes. I'll need to drop off after that, but thank you guys.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nick, and enjoy paradise today.
Thank you.
Alrighty, great. So over to the lovely Cindy. Cindy moved from South Africa and joined an awesome firm in Sydney. Where are you, Cindy? Oh, I can see you here, Sindles. There we go. Hi.
Hi. Hi everyone. My name is Cindy. I moved originally, actually, I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. I moved to go study in South Africa and I lived my good life there, but I'd always wanted to have a global footprint, always wanted to travel. So I always kept looking out for the next best thing. Um, which is how I met Maxine. So let's see, why did I decide to move to this location specifically? I actually had, when I spoke to Maxine and I was telling her about all my dreams and ambitions and everything, I didn't have a specific country that I wanted to move to at that point in time. I kept it quite open. I was like, hello, universe, I am ready. Please show me the direction. Which way do I go? But most of all, I wanted to give myself the opportunity to grab onto something that spoke to my values, what I was looking for in terms of progressing in my career. So I needed to keep it open. And that's how the job in Australia found me. I didn't found it, it found me, basically. Yeah, so that's how I got to Sydney. The company that I work for is Preacher Partners. It's one of the top 10 firms in Australia. And based on my interactions and my interviews, I found them to be a great fit in terms of my values and what I was willing to do and how I wanted to change my life, to find that life balance and to just travel and be in a good, happy space. And that's exactly what I found. So let's see, how did the visa process go? The nice thing about Australia is that the systems actually work. So my visa process was pretty smooth. However, I do think that it boils down to preparation. Like, do you have all your documents ready? Have you verified the actual documents that is required? Double check everything, put down a list and tick it as you go before you submit your visa application. Also, the best part is have a support system. Don't just do it on your own. I was lucky enough to have Maxine help me, but I also had my friends and family help me as well. A good friend of mine, Tatenda, helped double check everything and just read through all of my documents and make sure that it's exactly it before I submitted the application. And once I had that done, it was literally 10 days from the time that I put my application in to when I got my visa. And then, okay, in terms of onboarding processes, like I mentioned, Preacher Partners really spoke to my core values and what I was searching for in terms of progressing in my careers. So I found that once I got there, it was exactly how they had portrayed it in the interview. Frankly, everybody was so friendly. Their systems were checking out. They gave me all the training that I needed. Oh yeah, that was actually my first day at work. The picture in the blue there, and that's like the tall building, like skyscrapers, guys. And we're on the 17th floor, so we've got like the view of the harbor, and it's so pretty. But back to onboarding. It was really efficient and quite easy. I did all of my training. And then I found that once I got to be in part of teams, everybody within the team was willing to assist and help me get on my feet and figure things around in terms of systems and all of that. So it is quite a very supportive environment. Now, let's talk about the most interesting thing. This was a culture shock for me, guys. The housing crisis is a thing. in terms of finding accommodation in Australia, in Sydney specifically, we kind of struggled. It was a culture shock for my husband and I when we went for our first inspection, what we knew in South Africa as viewing, but they call it inspection here. We found out there was 20 other people that were there to inspect the same apartment. So that meant that there was a lot of competition, and that went around, you know. So if I was to give anybody tips on how to put your best foot forward in terms of being competitive and having that competitive advantage, because there's going to be a lot of people that want the same place, and knowing that you are moving here and you're new, you don't have rental history in Australia, I'd advise that you get your references from wherever you're from. Just have your reference letters from previous landlords, for example, or from family members you've stayed with and stuff, something that could show that you're in good standing. Also do have savings in terms of having like your deposit, your bond, so that you can have that readily available. It also gives the landlord some comfort to know that you're actually going to be a good tenant. And to add to that, just have your bank statements as well, your banking history or the current finances that you have, to show that you'll be able to support yourself should you move in for the next few weeks. Oh yes, and another culture shock is, whilst I knew rentals to be paid monthly, it turns out they're paid bi-weekly this side. Weekly for some places, bi-weekly from other places, which was like, how do I manage this? I know my mind works per month, but now I'm working by 2 weeks. What is this? But you get used to it eventually. Yeah, and you also, for some companies, you also kind of get paid the same. Like you get your salary every 2 weeks and so forth. So you get used to it and kind of adjust to it. I did. It was a shock at first, but you eventually just get over it. Yeah, so let's see. Maxine, what else did you ask?
Well, you gave a really nice overview of everything. Thank you. And I can see you just, you are glowing. Even though you did struggle to find not an opportunity, an apartment, you ended up finding an amazing one really close to work. So it all worked out. So yeah,
that's
really
true.
awesome. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Cindy. I keep saying Sydney. Cindy, thank you so much, Cindy in Sydney. It's been such a pleasure hearing about your journey, and of course, it's been a pleasure assisting you too.
Thank you so
next
much.
up, pleasure. Next up, we have the ever so nice and super friendly Bongani. So Bongani also made a move from South Africa to the picturesque UK Channel Islands, and boy, he's had some pretty cool adventures already. Over to you, Bongani.
Hello, everybody, and thank you to Maxine and the team for the time. So yeah, I am officially now in my 6th month living in the Channel Islands, in Guernsey specifically. So there's a bunch of islands within the area. This is one of the main ones, and it's a financial services hub. So I joined Grant Thornton in their audit department with the massive help of Maxine, who has been absolutely amazing. And I used to brag about her to my partner that she's actually got an extra touch when it comes to the recruitment process. So, and really held my hand and guided me, because I was at a space where I was looking for a change, and I was looking to sort of expand my exposure and footprint in work. Prior to that, I'd been working remotely and was working with an audit firm in the US. So I had a bit of exposure in working with within a global space. But I wanted the physical one as well, because as much as, we've been living in this online space post-COVID and all of that stuff, nothing beats human interaction, which is what I was looking for. So yeah, I moved here more specifically for career prospects. I also wanted to work. Don't mind my shorts there. I was having so much fun in Amsterdam in June. So And yeah, it's been really an incredible decision that I've made. From a career point of view, I wanted exposure into sort of like financial services markets, which is mainly what is going on these two islands. And I can just tell you, within like 5 months, I've already learned so much. I've actually gotten so much exposure working on UK listed clients, really getting into the nitty-gritty of really complex financial instruments and other things that I had not gotten great exposure in. So it was absolutely great for my career. It is great, and I think it will continue to be great. And then in terms of the visa process, I think Cindy covered it very well, having applied from a South African perspective. I think one of the things that I would add is that you would have seen in one of the pictures before with like my family and friends there, is to say that your support system is very, very important. So all of these people you see in that picture had been so supportive. They were a little bit sad, like, I'm moving away and all of that stuff, but it's really important to have them in your pocket and on your side, and they'll also keep you really, really steady when you are away, with the communication, all of that stuff, checking in. And something else to add is that there are certain things that as soon as you decide that you're actually going to work towards a global move, there are certain things you can actually start getting ready, like moving, because within this island, we're part of where I call it crown dependency. So we're very much linked to the UK. We have UK passports, and our time spent here actually counts towards residency periods for the UK, which is actually great. We are about a 35-minute flight away from London, so we are just adjacent there, and we're not far from France as well. So lots of benefits about that. So things like your TB certificate, you can do that ahead of time. Your police clearance, which was actually the thing that took the longest for me. So you will have like a gap of like 3 to 4 months where you're like waiting and waiting for this thing. But as soon as those come in and then you have all your other documents ready, you just go through, and it didn't really take that long. But also something else is just to do as much research as possible, read about where you're going, read about the accommodation issues, also experience something similar to Cindy as well in terms of looking for a place. But it's really because the island is quite small, but there's quite a lot of activity going on. So there's lots of people moving here, and there just isn't enough housing. So it becomes a little bit of a fight and a struggle. But I eventually found the best apartment ever. I walk everywhere. And if I'm late a little bit or there's some rain, then I'll catch a bus. But otherwise, I've dropped a couple of kilograms as well living here. It's very hilly. But it's absolutely beautiful. I've managed to travel. You saw there, I was in Paris, which was absolutely amazing. Went to Amsterdam. I also went to Spain. So it's really been life-changing from a work environment as well. This is, and I love to say this, it's one of the best audit environments that I've been in. And we all know audit can be incredibly challenging. But the support from directors and partners, managers, senior managers, people within the team, who really understand that we're here to learn, we're here to grow, their doors are open. People don't have offices here, we have open plan. So one morning you could be like booking a seat and sitting next to the managing partner, which can be quite cool as soon as you get over it. But it's been an enriching experience for me. And I would just say to anyone who's somewhere out there thinking about this is really spend some time introspecting on why you want to make the move, whether it's a career perspective, whether it's for new experiences, really interrogate that and really be comfortable with that, because that's what's going to guide you as you make decisions and keep you staying strong and help you with your goals and what you want to achieve. It's starting to get rainy and gray here, so it rains a lot. There's a lot of wind, but it's a different experience coming from South Africa. So yeah, that's a bit of my story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bongani. You did not mention that you actually had a lovely summer too.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I actually arrived here the week that the sun came out. So I was bragging that I brought some sun from South Africa to my colleagues. And from there on, it was just like brilliant. I saw Beyonce in Amsterdam. I did quite a lot of interesting things. And just something to actually add is the reasons why the work environment has been good is because they don't only preach about work-life balance and sort of like working hard but taking breaks. It's something that everybody sort of embodies. I don't know if it's like a thing that's happens with people who live on islands or by the coast. I don't know, because I think people in Cape Town kind of also have something like this as well. But they really embody it. Like you work and then you stop and then you go and smell the flowers, smell the roses, go swim in the ocean, spend time with your loved ones if they're with you, make friends, and then you become refreshed and you come back and you contribute in a much more positive way in the workspace. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's really cool. And you're still glowing even after almost 6 months.
Thank you. Thank you, Maxine.
Thank you so much for your time, Bongani. I'm sure that there's going to be a couple of questions for you on the Channel Islands too. So we'll catch you at the Q&A. Brilliant. And then we have the beautiful Makiba. So Makiba traded paradise-like views for big city living in London. So Makida, tell us about your story.
So my story is a bit different to Nick. It's actually the opposite. I moved from, I actually moved from a paradise island to the UK, which is a bit more hassle, bit more more intense, I would say. But the main reason, before I get to that, I am an assistant manager at BDO currently. I'm enjoying it. Yes, it has been one of those career changing move for me. But the main reason, it would have been two factors really why I would have moved to the UK. One would have been I wanted something more challenging. And just to give you a bit of background, prior to actually moving to Aruba, I would have migrated. I'm a born Trinidadian, so I would have migrated from Trinidad and Tobago to Aruba. And that would have been like the 2 years, well, like a few months prior to the pandemic actually hitting. So prior to that, I would have sat in Aruba for that 2 years period. And then while I was there, actually, I wanted to get something more challenging to develop my career as well as personal as well. I would have been start looking outside of Aruba. Hence the reason why I reached out to a friend of mine in the UK, and I came upon Maxine's email, and that is where it actually started, basically. So after reaching out to Maxine, and Maxine is such an amazing individual. It's like I cannot stress enough how amazing Maxine has been in terms of my move and stuff like that. She has been really, really, really inspiring and really, really supportive for me throughout my process. So after I reached out to Maxine, that would have been our talks in terms of what do you want, Makiba? What is it you hope to achieve and stuff like that. I was actually dating someone in the UK at that time. So that would have been one of the reasons. Yes, that is just life. It happens. As well as I wanted to develop my career as well. And I had a few friends actually who was already in the UK. So looking at the UK market, being able to get more exposure internationally, that was one of my career moves. So after that, I would have gotten interviews and stuff like that. My process was, I would say, I'm gonna give God the glory, because I would have prayed a lot prior to this, prayed a lot about this move, prayed about the whole process and everything like that. And my move was, it was quick. It was quicker than I expected. It was smooth. It was so amazing, because everything I would have actually spoke about, everything that I wanted, it actually fell into place, and I had the proper guidance, and I had the available individuals in place and everything of that sort. So my process was really, really, really smooth. It was really easy, as well as, yes, it's life changing, but at the same time, because I had that support, not just professionally from Maxine, I had that support from my peers as well as my family as well. So that was helpful. So I'm not going to talk too much into depth. I'm just going to try to touch all the topics as we go here, because my story is very long, right? So in terms of the visa process, it was smooth, but one key thing that I would actually kind of outline in that process while I was getting my stuff ready for that transition is that While I was when I got in contact with the global immigration individuals on video, they would have sent that information to me. I read through that process very critically. I reached out to Maxine. Maxine, what is this? I'm not too sure about this, and back and forth and stuff like that. Right? That was something that I find you have to do. You have to try to do critically, not just jump through it, so that when your documents are actually submitted, it doesn't take too long. So I would have asked being the auditor that I am, I'm an auditor by profession and an auditor in my personal life. I try to do things and ask questions over and over. If I'm not too sure, I'll ask a second and a third time just to make sure I understand it. Ask Maxine. So that's how I usually get my stuff done, because I want to get it right the first time. So I would ask the questions I need to ask right there and then. So one thing I find was critical as well is, like they would have mentioned in the visa process for me, you have to ensure that you print your passport on the correct paper. That is something that could cause your delay. So I ensure that every detail, everything that they would have said on that visa process was done correctly to a T. So my process really went very swiftly and very smoothly. That was one of the key things. So make sure you read your documents that you get from them critically and in detail, because that helps the process to go faster, easier, and stuff like that. You don't want to be back and forth and changing. Ask your questions. If you have to ask it 10 times, don't feel bad about it. Just ask the questions. It helps. I'm telling you, I am not ashamed of asking my questions. I ask them, right? So that's one thing. In terms of my onboarding process, because I come from an auditing background, I think the process for me wasn't too difficult, because I would have already made my move from Trinidad to Aruba. So I would have had an onboarding there. One from Aruba to here, it's basically the similar in terms of auditing firms is similar. Platforms are different in terms of applications and stuff like that. But if you look at the core of it, the principle of it is basically the same things. If you're good at grasping stuff and picking up stuff, it's not going to be a difficult process. If you're very new to the auditing, that is where the challenge actually comes in. So that is a bit more different. But because I was there before, I'm an auditor by profession and stuff like that, the transition and onboarding wasn't that difficult. It's just a matter of just picking up where you left off, understanding what you have to do. Look, you ask a question where you have to ask the questions, and don't be afraid of doing those things. And just keep it moving, basically. Tips in terms of accommodation. As I said, I'm an auditor by profession, so I use that in my personal life. I am telling you, it works. It works. I had my Excel spreadsheet, and I literally had like my list of places where I would have actually applied. What I did as well, I had a friend, one of my really good friends, who actually lived here, and I would have reached out to her on multiple occasions and let her know what I'm planning to do in terms of looking for accommodations and places. Had my Excel spreadsheet with lists of places I would have reached out to. I would have woke up in the morning, like it was 4 hours prior. So I would have to wake up, like say, if it's 12, I would have to wake up in the morning, like say 6 or 4 o'clock, and call the places after having my list of places on the Excel to ensure that I can get like a viewing, because of the fact that I wasn't in the present location. I wasn't in the UK. It was a bit more difficult and challenging. But as I say, praying a lot, as well as having people there to actually assist you as well, and having that excellence speaking to them. So I would have had the conversation with these realtors and stuff like that, asking them in terms of options to have someone to actually view the apartment on my behalf. There were cases where some said, I have to physically be there. That's fine. Just move on to the next, basically. So I would have had those ones crossed off of my list, and the next, and you just keep it moving, basically. So just have your sheet of your list of places you would like to get viewed. If you have somebody here, contact them, reach out to them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We are not we are not an island. We need people to assist us, right? So if you have someone to assist you, you try to utilize that person at the end of the day, and have that list running, basically. What else? In terms of what would have been the biggest difference in terms of work for me, I would say it's a culture change, in the sense you're not just dealing with one culture, it's a multiple of different cultures. And it's amazing, because you tend to put yourself in a situation where you learn a lot from people, because of their culture is different. So that is something that I find was so amazing on my end in terms of difference. Aruba was a bit like that, but it's not as diverse as the UK. UK is a lot more, is a lot more individuals in terms of different diverse backgrounds. What else? For in terms of my new location, what is different from I think for me, the biggest thing is when it was December time, at 3 p.m. it is dark in the UK. I'm not accustomed to that. What is going on? I literally was on meetings and wondering and talking to my partners like, what is going on outside? It's dark. It's dark at 3 p.m. What is going on? That was the biggest thing for me in terms of the both challenge and change in terms of the new location for me, because I'm not accustomed to seeing it being so dark at 3 p.m. And I think in terms of the cold as well, is something that would have been a bit challenging. It's, as you can see, I'm actually wearing turtleneck right now. I'm still adjusting to the cold, but I don't mind it. But it's just a matter of just being able to adjust to it, basically. What else?
Mikiba, do you mind if we save the rest of yours for the Q&As? And just because I can see we're overrunning a little bit, and you've got so much to say. It's brilliant hearing everything you had to say. We love it.
Not me.
Everyone's story has been absolutely amazing.
Yes.